Ole, 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 ole.
Before we continue with our story, we need to understand what shaped our past, who created our values, our culture, our history, who died in that Munich blast. Glazers out, we can scream and shout. You can take our money but never raise our past.
They may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom!
So hear us say to the Lord we pray, these are the people that made our DNA. We are Glory, Glory, Man United.
We want GlazerOut, say we want GlazerOut! We want GlazerOut, say we want GlazerOut!
Fucking hell, why? Why, under Sir Alex we were unstoppable, winning 38 major trophies, 2 European Cups, 13 Premier League titles, people, 5 FA Cups, 4 League Cups, the European Cup, Winners' Cup, the European Super Cup, the International Cup, the FIFA Club World Cup. You got to kidding me. So how could this happen? Why did this happen? For you young generation that do not understand or were privileged to live through Sir Alex Ferguson era, let me tell you the story. How we fell out from glory. What is Glazernomics exactly?
You won't have
Let me
that.
tell you.
Fuck that shit.
But in order to understand why we haven't won a Premier League trophy for 9 years and been horribly wrong, we need to go back in time to understand the power, the greed of the Glazers.
I don't believe that they are.
You won't have that.
Fuck that shit.
Now I've been working on this documentary ever since the summer, past 5 months, and I've been following this very, very closely. Following the leads with Sir Jim Ratcliffe, following the leads with the US consortium, following the leads with the Dubai consortium. Why is it so? As it stands today, the 7th of December 2023, the media is reporting that the Glazers put the club for sale. Is it so, or is it partial investment? Well, we can only look back in the timeline, because timelines and facts never lies. And matter of fact, let me point out Richard Arnold's meeting with some angry fans that called him up to the pub, where Richard clearly stated, he didn't know he was filmed, but he clearly said in the camera that we have burned through billions of cash with nothing to show for. We have a stadium that needs rebuilt, we have a training ground that also needs to upgrade. In order to do so, I need minimum 200 million pounds to do so.
Generating, and that was, we spent £1 billion on players over the last 10 years. We spent more than anyone in Europe, but I believe, I'm not thrilled where we are, right? I don't, doesn't sit easy. I worry, right, we've got to get this sorted for the future. But what's happened is we fucking burned through cash on. You can't go and see. You can't go to our training ground and say, by the way, show me where that £1 billion is in, because I don't think we've done well with the money we've spent historically. Yeah. But I'm not here to defend Joel or the Shells. He must speak for himself, right? I wanted to talk to you. You've taken the time and energy to come here to make your views known. I respect that. And we've blown through an enormous amount of money. For this summer, the money that the manager and the director of football wants is there, right? For the future, for investing in a new stadium and that sort of stuff, to do a latest and greatest £250 million training ground, okay, we've got to do something. We've got to get investors in. And again, I need that to do what I want for the club. Right? I've got to have more cash than we have now, because a new stadium, no stadium and no club in the world has the money to do a new stadium without getting it from someone. No one generates that. You either borrow it or someone invests it, right? And so
Spurs don't.
And there you have it, logic and reasoning. Let me apply to it. Timelines, facts and words from the CEO is right there. Have a look at it, listen to it again, analyze it, and let me know what you think. In my humble opinion, Richard Arnold is the new CEO. He clearly states the money was there for the transfer window. To rebuild the stadium and Carrington, he needs investments because the Glaze is not going to do it. Now for fact, This was the time where Glazers were starting to either look to sell the club or look for investors to buy into 20 to 30% of the shares. Why? Now the why for me is always the interesting part.
Mr. Glazer, why is now the right time to sell Manchester United?
Hi, well, as we announced yesterday, the board went through a process and it's decided it's going to look at different strategic alternatives, and that's what we're doing. So,
United fans say that you should have sold the club years ago.
well, once again, we've gone through a process. We're going to look at all different strategic alternatives, and we'll see where that leads us. So I appreciate you talking to me tonight, and I'm going to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving.
I don't believe that they are.
You won't have that.
Ah, fuck that shit.
We've seen the Glazernomics model, how they operate. We know it's been successful, but time has come that it's not sustainable. I tell you why. We know by now the Glazernomics financial model, right? The only thing the Glazers care about is making money without spending money. We've seen evidence that kind of merged out from the latest financial report, how they use the line of credit from Bank America to continue to take out credit and put more debt on the club. That means buying players on debt, on credit, and other operational things, not spending one single cent, and yet making dividends payments every 2-3 times a year. Now, excuse me, that credit line has now maximized, leaving us in estimated over 1 billion in debt and a cash balance with about 25 million pounds in the bank and nothing to show for. The Glazers has maximized its potential to operate Manchester United, and therefore they're looking for investments or sales. And as a matter of fact, it's even getting worse and more sleazier, as the report from The Athletic that came out the other day suggests that Joel and Avram Glazer considering buying the siblings out, consulting with the private equity firm Apollo Group about the idea to invest about $1 billion. That it was not for rebuilding the training facility or Old Trafford, but it was actually to buy out the siblings and continue to run the well dry to the financial state that we are today. Now, luckily the Apollo Group declined that proposal. Thank fuck for that. We're seeing the drop of the commercial value of sponsorships dropping. We're seeing that based on the global financial crisis, sponsors are dropping out. That means that Glazers no longer can service their debt as the interest rates has gone up. The Fed has raised with 50%. We've seen over the time, over 1 year and so, that the stock market and valuation of the club has gone down. In matter of fact, that in the summer, Glazers decided to go for investments and sell the club. And another interesting part was the Super League. The fiasco, the failure of the Super League, where the Glazers and most of the European clubs like Barcelona, like Real Madrid, Juventus, including the Glazers, were banking on the Super League. Now that never happens. The Super League is dead. There's no way for the Glazers to get more money out of the club. There's no way with the financial recession they can take out more dividends. The protesters has been working. The fans has been attacking the sponsors. The sponsors are starting to pull out. This is many reasons why. I know for fact, and this is my opinion, but I want you to understand that we saw no action in the transfer market. The money was there to spend for the manager. It was dead silent. Fans were getting impatient and started protesting. It was only 2 weeks out for the transfer window closed when we went on a spending spree. This was an indication that the Glazers decided to sell the club. Now the way Glazers operate is they see players as commodity. The overall wage structure is added on to the overall valuation of what the club is worth. Let's say Ronaldo is worth X amount of money. The overall squad is worth X amount of money. You add that on to the selling price, and that is why. Now we're seeing the stock market shooting up to $22. This is record high. Why? Because they have already been talking to investors. Now who are those investors? This is what we're going to debunk together.
I don't believe that they are.
You won't have that.
Ah, fuck that shit.